Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Travel, our weekly live virtual show on Zoom and YouTube that focuses on the joys of travel. Whether you're here for the first time or as a longtime member of the Monday Night Travel family, we're glad you're with us tonight. My name is Lisa Friend and I'm delighted to be here sharing my packing strategies. Tonight's show is a sequel of sorts of my somewhat successful packing show that I did a year ago. I'll still cover the basics of packing light, but with the nuances that we've gleaned from a year of experience and from direct feedback from you, either tonight in the live Q&A or in the weeks of information we've gathered from social media. So let's get started. What is packing light? 9 by 14 by 22 inches is the general rule of thumb for carrying on the airplane, and I always pack in a carry-on size bag. It can be done, whether for 14 days or 40, and that is a hill I will die on. What are my packing credentials, you ask? I have been a tour guide for over 20 years, and I did the math. 997 nights in hotels, averaging mostly 2-night stays, means that I have packed and unpacked my suitcase over 500 times. Now, I did check and see what you guys were saying on social media. There were almost 1,000 comments, and I heard what a passionate group of packers you are. And 2 things that I've determined in my packing career. 1, anyone that wants to can pack light, and we're going to talk about strategies that you can use this evening. 2, packing in a carry-on size bag doesn't mean you actually have to carry it on the airplane. The airplane ride is only part of your journey. I routinely check my bag on the way home due to usually liquid souvenirs. I check my bag on all those pesky budget carriers in Europe because they're designed to be so strict as to make you check your bag and charge you extra for it at the airport. That's part of their income stream. So it's easier to determine that you're going to check your bag while you're doing either your check-in process online or when you actually book your ticket. And I'm looking at you, Ryanair. You've done dirty to me before. So why should you pack light? Besides wanting to circumvent Ryanair's income stream, it makes you more mobile and honestly, I think happier. Sweating a 35-pound bag up 3 flights of stairs in the summer in Italy does not make me happy. Struggling to get my bags on and off trains does not make me happy. Overpacking turns you into Blanche Dubois. You're always relying on the kindness of strangers or your daddy Warbucks, flipping €5 notes to every porter and doorman that you meet to carry your bags. So when you're at your beginning of your planning process, think carefully about your trip. Are you renting a car? Are you taking trains? How are you getting to your first destination? Public transportation or taxi? Packing light also keeps you safer. If you're seen struggling with your bags, you'll be more likely to be distracted, and that will make you a target for thieves. Also, if you're traveling by train, you can keep a carry-on size bag in the rack above you so it's always in your eyesight. Instead of if you have a larger bag, it's going to be forced to be at the end of the train car. And I actually have a picture to show you what I mean about that. So think about how much you're going to be walking while you're traveling. You're going to walk with your bags quite a bit. So here's the Eurostar train station. So this is in Paris going to London. You have to go through security and you have to go through customs and borders before you actually get, and you're going to walk like a solid 10 minutes with your bags before you get to the train. And then on the train, it looks like this. So you can see what I mean by if you've got a carry-on size bag, it's going to fit in those racks overhead. And if you have a bigger bag, it's going to go way down at the other end and you're not going to be able to see it. So that's what I mean about that. So packing light can also save you time. If you're carrying it on the airplane, you don't have to stand in line when you get to the airport to check it. You can go straight to the gate. And at the other end of your trip, when you get off the airplane, you don't have to wait for baggage claim. It can save you money as well, packing light. You can choose to take public transportation. I fly into Amsterdam often, and if I take the bus to my hotel, it costs me about $7. Whereas if I take a taxi, it's about $80, and that's a significant amount of money. That's a nice dinner out or some really good souvenirs. I can also choose to stay in hotels that don't have elevators, so that can often also be a savings. So I know that it's not always possible for you to carry on. Lufthansa has a, pardon my language or my criticism, Lufthansa has a ridiculous weight limit of 8 kilos, which is about 17 and a half pounds. Now, truly, I could pack that light if I want to, but I don't need the stress. So I'll just check my bag and make sure that my personal item has my valuables, my jewelry, my medicine, and a change of clothing. So what kind of bag is right for you? We have a couple of bags for you to take a look at. So this is the rolling carry-on size bag. And then we have the best packer in the world, my daughter Nora. Here she is. This is our convertible carry-on bag. So you can see that she has her carry-on size backpack and she has her Veloce shoulder bag, which is my favorite. And then tonight I'm including a little bit more information about the spinner because I heard from you out in the audience that you guys really like these spinner bags. So I packed in that over here. So what are the secrets to packing light? Well, before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of packing light. So why is it so hard to pack light? Why is there so much anxiety about it? Well, there's anxiety that goes into travel, and the packing can symbolize that. So fear of the unknown, loss of control of your surroundings. Some people just don't like change. All of this can contribute to a what if mentality, and that is not conducive to packing light. You want to pack for the best case scenario, not the worst case scenario. As an example, I want you to realize that we are not packing for a trip in the backcountry. We're going to Europe in this scenario. And so for me, an example is if I get sick in the middle of the night, I need to have enough medicine to cure that or to alleviate my symptoms until I can get to a pharmacy the next day. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about, did I get a cold? Am I having a stomach upset? Am I having a UTI? Like I bring like 1 or 2 doses of that kind of medicine, enough to get me to the pharmacy the next day. Anything worse than that is probably going to need a visit from the doctor. A lot of European doctors will make house calls to hotels or a trip to the ER. So I don't pack 3 weeks worth of cold medicine, just enough to get me through. So the secrets that I want to reveal to you tonight, which sounds dun dun dun, pretty dramatic, is the secrets to packing light are the 3 L's. So lists, laundry, and layers. So starting with lists, I start by researching weather at my destination, and I start by visualizing my trip and thinking, are there any special occasions, anything I need to keep in mind? So am I going to have to dress up for anything? Am I going to the theater, a special dinner? Am I going to spend a lot of time on the beach? Nora in that picture earlier had snorkel gear because she was going to Belize. So is there anything I need to, that's a concrete that I need to know about? But by preparing a list and then sticking to it, that allows me to do a couple of things. One, it means I can pack early. Rick used to always say, set a fake destination date like a week before you're actually leaving so that you're all ready to go. And I have modified that to just a few days before I'm ready to leave, but I do like it. And keeping a list really lets me know, no, I did pack that. I don't have to think about that. Checking something off means that I have the ability to just let that go. And here are 2 options for lists. So one is just the notes feature on your phone. If you have an Apple phone, this is just the notes feature you can see on the left-hand side. That's my clothing list. And then the other one is a paper list, and that's by a company called Knock Knock. And it's got a great overview, and it's great also for families. Like I'll make one out for everybody in my family and with their name on it and hand it to them and say, this is what you go put in your suitcase. And it's been very successful. So then I break down the list into clothing and a non-clothing or supply list. So that works perfectly well. So the next L is laundry. So basically, I have a week's worth of clothes, and I will do sink laundry, usually only my socks and undies and bras, maybe once a week. And then I'll use a laundry service. Where do I find a laundry service, Lisa? Well, you know, in your handy dandy Rick Steves guidebook, or your hotel will know where the nearest laundromat or laundry service is. So if there's a laundry service, it's usually pretty affordable if it's not through the hotel. If it's through the hotel and it's by the piece, then it's usually going to be more money than I want to spend. And then I'll go to a laundromat. So laundromats are great. I have a picture of Rick here in a laundromat. You can use it to catch up on your journal, you plan your travel for the next day. Really, if I've got a week's worth of clothes on a 2-week trip, I'm only going to go to the laundromat once, and I'm going to be there for about 2 hours. And I think that that's enough. It's not too much of a sacrifice for me to do that in order to pack light. So here's how it breaks down. I'm going to show you a clip of exactly what I take clothing-wise. Hi, today we're packing the Rick Steves carry-on size spinner bag. I love it for domestic travel, and I know a lot of you out in the audience really appreciate the 4 wheels. It glides down airplane aisles easily and through the airport. And it still holds everything I need for a 14 to 40 day trip. Okay, as I mentioned, we're using this spinner bag today. It's the deepest bag that we sell. All of our bags are carry-on size compliant, and they all roughly hold the same thing. So it's just a personal preference as to what you like. When we talk about what to pack for a 14 to 40 day trip, we want to start with clothes. A lot of people get really into technical clothing. I'm more of a go to the store, see a shirt I like, grab it off the rack, wrinkle it, grab it really hard. Oh, it does not wrinkle. Oh, it's a pattern. It doesn't show stains. That is a good travel shirt for me. So you'll see that I have a mix of that. And speaking of mixes, everything that you bring should match basically everything else. I have a color palette that is mostly primary colors, black, purple, khaki. I know when I traveled with my mother-in-law, she had a full pastel palette, and that was just who she was, and this is who I am. So, but make sure that everything matches each other. So we're gonna start today. We have all of our clothes lined up here. They are rolled, and I will continue to roll them. Some people like to pack everything in cubes. Some people like to fold everything and stack it. I am a roller because I really want to take advantage of those deep ridges that you have inside your suitcase from the handles. We have 3 pairs of pants plus the one we're wearing, and they're a mixture of long pants and capris. I tend not to wear shorts when I travel because I feel capris are dressier and give me the same amount of ventilation, and that's what works for me. So I really like these capris too. They don't wrinkle and they're airy. Shove them there. So that's your 3 pairs of pants plus the one you're wearing. So 4 pants total. You could do 3 or 4. You don't need to bring 4, but we have room for it. And I'm packing for a trip that's going to be most of May in Switzerland, Italy, Germany, Austria, France. So I'm expecting some coolish weather, and that's how I'm packing today. So those are your pants, and then I have my tops, and I've organized them. I have 3 sleeveless, 1, 2, 3 sleeveless, 2 short sleeve. I always bring 1 t-shirt for hiking, for wearing around my hotel room, for just being casual. The rest of them are a little bit dressier. And then I have 3 either 3/4 length shirts or long sleeve. Just tuck everything in there tight. And then I bring a dressy top. So I'm always going to have black pants with me if I pair them with my sandals, and then a dressy top. This is a little camisole, which I can also wear as nightwear. And then I have a dressy-ish kimono top. So if I'm going to a play or out to a nice dinner, that's going to be the thing that I pick up. That is my base layer. I even have a few more holes where I could tuck things in. So that's my base layer. And then on top, I have this is made by Eagle Creek. They call it a wet dry. It's double-sided. I call it my junk drawer. So it has all of everything that I need that isn't a toiletry or underwear or socks. So that's my junk drawer, and it goes in here. You always want to pack your heaviest items near your wheels. Near your wheels. because that'll help keep your bag from tipping over, and it'll just make it easier to wheel. And I have my Rick Steves toiletry kit, and this is quite capacious, got room for a lot of stuff, but you don't need to pack it all the way full, so it'll just fit right there. And then this is my Rick Steves packing cube. This is the small packing cube. In it are 6 pairs of socks, 6 pairs of underwear, my extra bra, maybe 2 if it's going during the summer and I think I'm gonna perspire a lot, and my swimsuit. And it's all squished in there. And I always have a good pair of walking sandals. So these are my dressy shoes, and they're also, I can walk in them all day long. These are earth shoes, but lots of people make really good walking sandals. Danskos, Keens. I've been really happy with a lot of those. And then I am using shower caps as my shoe covers. I get them for free at all the hotels I go to, and especially because this one broke when I put it in this morning. It's a good thing I get them free. But those will cover the dirt of your shoes. Okay. And then this is all of my makeup. So the last things that we're putting into our suitcase today are our Copenhagen crossbody bag. This is my around town bag, so it'll meet any of the museum requirements, so I can't take my bigger-ish backpack that I use as a day bag. So this is my in-town bag. And our last thing is our compression flat pack. It's what I use almost exclusively for my dirty laundry, but you can put it in, roll it up, and the air will get sucked out and it'll fit nicely on the top of your suitcase. And I'm just gonna tuck it in to our compartment. Then we're gonna use our compression straps to keep everything together. If there's one thing I like, it's to pretend that I've got it all together. So we've packed this bag with everything I need for 14 to 40 days, and we didn't even expand it. That's for bringing the souvenirs home. That is for bringing souvenirs home. I hope that you enjoyed that look into my suitcase. The last of the 3 L's is layering. So I want to share with you a picture of me in Amsterdam. That is me in Amsterdam. It's about 65 degrees, and I know that because I was there, obviously. And I'm gonna just point out that I have underneath my shirt, underneath my jacket, I have a long sleeve shirt, I have my raincoat, and I have a scarf, and I have a umbrella tucked away in my bag, and that will get me through the entire day, and that'll be just fine. Now, so those are the layers. When I am on tour, I am usually gone on a 3-week tour. That's one tour, and it goes from the Netherlands down to the Riviera, up to the Swiss Alps, and ends in Paris. And so there's a lot of weather variables in that 3-week system, and layering in this way helps keep me warm and cozy when I need to be with my layers, shirt, sweater, and a jacket. But my friend Marta needed a little bit more because she was going to a cold climate. So she's going to talk a little bit more about layers.
Hi everybody, my name's Marta. I am a travel advisor at Rick Steves Europe, and I've been here about 3 years. I work primarily with our merchandise customers, so I love this topic for today. So Lisa always says there are the 3 L's to packing. There is lists, laundry, and layers, which is what I'm going to talk about today. When you're traveling, particularly in the off-season or in places with colder or wetter climates, I have found a system that works really well for me. It is a 3-tiered outerwear system. I learned this the hard way because I did the Rick Steves tour to Scandinavia, and I was not prepared. I did not bring everything I needed. By the time I had done my next Rick Steves tour, which was to Switzerland, I had worked out this system. So this is what it is. So I have the first layer, which is like the base layer or the light layer. And that is typically I do like a zip up spandex jacket. Then I have the second layer, which is the warmth layer, and what I wear for that is like a warm fleece zip up. I'll put that over top of the light layer if it's getting colder. And then last, my third layer, it's the precipitation layer. I use a rain shell, obviously for rain, and I use one with a hood, and I do size up in the rain shell so that it fits over the other 2 layers. So depending on the weather that day, the elevation, temperature, precipitation, I have what I need, and I can also combine those layers in different ways depending on what's needed for that day, or just stuff one of them in my day pack if I think I might need it later. So I've also found this to be just great for packing because I have 3 different items that each serve their own function, so I'm not duplicating anything or wasting space in my suitcase. So with this information, you will be prepared for anything. Happy travels!
Well, Marta's not here, but I would like to say thank you, Marta, for sharing that with us. So Marta has talked about the layers. We've talked about the lists, the laundry, the layers, but what about the other stuff? I mentioned that I have 2 lists. One is a clothing list and the other one is the supply list. So I just wanted to go over what I bring besides clothes. So let's look at some pictures so we can see that easily. So here is my toiletry kit, and it has everything that I need for the 2 weeks. So this is a 2-week trip. And I said this earlier, maybe, that the difference between me packing for a 14-day trip and a 40-day trip is merely the amount of contact lenses I need to bring and meds. Otherwise, pretty much everything is the same. So here's what I have in my toiletry kit. And the reason I put it out here is it's easier for you to see, but also because if you are going to carry on, you know that you need to take all of the liquids that are in here and move them into something else so you can go through security. So here I have a comb, I have conditioner, I have spraying conditioner, I have shampoo, I have Q-tips, I have 17 pairs of contact lenses. You always want to have a little bit extra, and you can see that with my meds too. I've written 17 days because it's a 14-day trip, but you need to have a couple extra. So I have 3 different medications, and one of my medications has 2 different types of pills in it. They're married together because they look different enough that I can easily tell at a glance which pill is which, so I don't take the wrong ones. Eye drops, toothpaste, toothbrush. I have a little bit of roller perfume, which will fit inside the TSA approved thing. And I have moisturizer with sunscreen. So that's important, and deodorant. And I almost always buy my deodorant in Europe because they come in such tiny little packages that it works very well. So you can see everything that I brought. And then for makeup, this is my little makeup kit. I have stuff for my eyebrows, I have foundation, I have blush, I have a sharpener, I have a really good set of tweezers because every person over a certain age needs that, along with the magnifying mirror that you can see on the left hand side. And then I have a brush and I have lips. I have everything that I need for 2 weeks. And then I want to get to I call it my junk drawer. So it's 2-sided, as I mentioned. And I'm actually just going to pull it out. Because this is a really important thing to me. I hope you guys can see me. So on one side, yeah, this side, I also have this 28-day pill organizer. I have ADHD and it's hard for me to remember if I take my pills. So once I get through security or once I get to Europe, I put them all in this thing. So I know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if I've taken them. And since I only take things once a day, then I can actually fit 28 days worth of pills in here. I'll set down there. And I also have a jewelry pouch. And one of the things that I think is important, a little trick that I want to show you, is I have, my big jewelry that I like, and I just throw it in there. But I have some other types of jewelry that is a little bit more delicate. And I've realized at this stage of my life that I don't want to spend all of my time untangling jewelry. So I just got these at a craft store, and I just have a few little bits and bobs. And then you can see I have multiple earrings in this one, but it just keeps everything from getting tangled. So that to me was something that I just started doing this year, and I'm really excited about not untangling things anymore. I'll just tuck those back in there, and that keeps them all safe and they don't get scratched. And then everything else you can see in the picture pretty well. I have napkins. I do a lot of in-room picnics. I have my sunglasses. I have a hair tie. I have masks in case I'm not feeling good or I'm going in somewhere crowded. And then since I was gonna go swimming at least twice on the trip, I put in these goggles. I mean, they're small. It's not like I put a full scuba face in there, but I just went swimming last year and I went, oh, I'd really be happier if I had goggles right now. So I did that. And then for work, I have some colored pens for making my schedules. And then I always bring lots and lots of plug adapters. So we sell these for $3. I think that's pretty good value. So for Britain and Ireland, it looks like this. And for the continent, it looks like that. And I say that these are the things that you are most likely to lose. So bring multiple ones. They're also the thing you're most likely to find. But keep that in mind. I always have several of those. Put this all back together. And then flip it over. What's on the other side? Just some other things I want you to know about. Let me get to the next photo. So this is the other side of the junk drawer. And I have, okay, honestly, I have some little packets of fiber, just, you know, traveling. I have some of the medicine that I talked about. I have room picnic supplies. I usually just grab these off the airplane. I think they even say Delta on them. They're bamboo, they're super light. Powder sunscreen. So this is really great for freshening up your sunscreen throughout the day. It's not going to be your first line of defense, but it's good when you need to reapply. And then a little medicine kit, more medicine that I talked about, but some Band-Aids. I have a sewing kit. I have my Rick Steves binder clip, so I always will take the chapters out of my guidebook and just carry around the chapter that I want, so I don't have to carry around the entire book. And then Ziploc baggies, you always need Ziploc baggies, nail file, salt and pepper, and another Band-Aid. So that is what I put in my junk drawer. To me, that's pretty important stuff. And again, a lot of this gets reorganized because of carrying on for liquids, but that is that. And what's next? Okay, then we have the liquids. So here is my day bag, and we're gonna unpack the day bag to some extent. But I like a reusable bag, so I took all the stuff, not all, I took all the liquids out of my toiletry kit and just put it in here. But other things that are in my day bag, I have my convenience kit for the airplane. This is my own invention and it is my favorite travel hack. So this has everything I need to keep me happy on the airplane for 10 hours. So I don't know about you, but I cannot go from my sitting position on the airplane to reaching down underneath my seat and trying to get my backpack out. I can't do that without invading the personal space of the person next to me. So I put everything I need in this with the little hook, and it just sits right in front of me. I just hook it on the seat back in front of me, and it has everything I need. So what do I need on an airplane for that many days? I need my sleep mask, because I have found with my own unscientific studies that actually helps with your sleep. I have a fan. I'm a woman of a certain age, and I was trapped on a plane last year that didn't have one of the air directional vents, and I was miserable. So I always have that with me. I have glasses. I have my regular vision glasses if I take my contacts out, and I have reading glasses if I don't have my contacts out. I have this little transmitter receiver, and I plug that into the airplane entertainment system, and then it Bluetooth connects to my headphones. And so I don't always have to have a wire. I like this. It works probably 70% of the time. And these are noise canceling, so it does make a proper, better experience. But for the times it doesn't work, I do still have old-fashioned wired headphones that have the good tips that block out a lot of sound. I have, of course, tissues. I have cough drops. I have lip balm. Eye drops would be in here. A little notebook in case I want to do any work or jot down any thoughts. Hand sanitizer and a little cleaning for cleaning your hands and then cleaning your tray table. And then I also have a mask in case the person next to me starts coughing and I'm not super comfortable with that. So we're all just a little bit more aware of germs these days. So that is it's the Rick Steves Classic Toiletries kit, and Rick still actually uses it as a toiletry kit, but I have just found that for me it's not big enough for a toiletry kit, but it works so beautifully for this on the airplane convenience kit that I've made that I just really could not be happier with it. And it's the one thing I probably would say I would not travel without this. So that is that. So I wanted to talk to you about that. And then the rest of the stuff, what's in my day bag, I said we would get into it. So this is the Rick Steves Veloce shoulder bag. And it's not expanded, but it's pretty full. But I've got in it, I've got just papers. You always are going to need some papers. I've got my iPad. I've got my travel CPAP. Fits in here nicely. This is a ResMed Mini, and so I travel with that. It's got my Rick Steves guidebook with all my tabs ready to go. I've been loving this water bottle for the last year and a half. Sometimes my tour members think I'm drinking from a flask, which cracks them up. Some days they do drive me to drink. No, I'm just joking. But it's really nice that it fits in flat. So it fits in all of my day bags and doesn't take up the same amount of space as a round bottle does. And then I have my one personal luxury item. I have a little rechargeable fan, and it makes me so happy. I will never travel without this either. I usually wake up in the morning, I'm a little bit warm, and I just stand in front of the fan for a few minutes. It's also great for white noise. So I'm just crazy about that. And then that is it in the main compartment. And then in this side compartment is where I keep my electronics. So the other things that would have been in that convenience kit that you didn't see was this is a multi-prong charger. So this will charge a lightning cord, this will charge the USB-C and the old-fashioned micro USB, and that's just got the USB-C in the end. And so I just plug this into the airplane and charge my phone or charge my headphones, whatever I need, and it'll stretch out pretty well, but then you can just adjust it to exactly where you need, which I find very satisfying because I hate having all of these cords coming off. So that would be in my on the plane convenience kit. I will also take another one that is similar, also has multi prongs. So I need 2 cords at night. I have my charger. It's my charging brick. I actually bought one that is European, so I don't have to worry about that, but it's got for my CPAP machine. It's got 2 USBs for my charger. It's got a USB-C as well. So you could actually plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things, and it just sticks in the wall. Tissues. I have so many packets of tissues. I have my coin purse. So we make a leather one at Rick Steves. This is a slightly different leather one that I got in Florence, but you're going to want something to corral all of those coins that you're going to be using, because Europeans don't have paper money until you get to the €5 note. So there will be a lot of coins, and you will use cash still for some things, for paying for bathrooms, for paying for a coffee. You're not going to want to whip out your credit card for everything. So I do have my walking around money, usually 20 to 40 euros in here, and I keep it in my day bag or in my front pocket to avoid pickpockets. And then I also have a battery pack. So this is a magnet battery pack, which I am also very fond of because it just suctions straight to my phone and will charge it like that. So that's pretty thin, I think, and I really enjoy that. But what I can also do is at night, I use it. It's dual purpose, like everything should be, and I use it to charge my Apple Watch. So that is my charger. It's just a little security blanket, I guess, for my phone, because usually my phone doesn't run out of battery during the day, but you never want that to truly happen. And then the last few things I have in here, too much information. I have my night guard, which should be in my toiletry kit, but I added it later. And then always I have a couple of Ziploc bags. So this was a tip from my coworker, Heidi. So she said that she does her sink laundry in a gallon-sized Ziploc. So she puts it in there with a little bit of soap, and she throws in some socks and undies, and she uses it and scrubs it up, and she uses it to agitate. And she says it has saved her hand strength, and it works really well. And so I thought, I'm going to try that on my next trip. And then one of my tour members gave me some washing sheets, and I'm going to use that because that doesn't count towards any of your liquids. Although, to be honest, I have used plenty of shampoo or body wash to wash out my socks and underwear in years past, and that has always worked out just fine as well. And then anything else in here? Lip gloss. And my money belt. So this would normally be right around my waist. I wear my money belt like it's a religion. I wear it every single day unless I'm going to the beach, and it has my passport, my debit card, excuse me, my credit card, my global entry card, and my big money. So I really, I was just watching a video today about pickpockets in Venice and pickpockets in Paris, and you know, they're there and it's a real thing. There are people that make their living stealing from tourists. But if I'm wearing my money belt, I don't ever worry about it. I've never been pickpocketed, and I know lots of people who have been, but it doesn't happen to me because I'm wearing my money belt. So everything that could stop my trip in its tracks is attached to my body next to my underpants, and nobody getting in my underpants on my tour. So I'm safe as houses. So that's some information for me from what's in my junk drawer, what's in my toiletry kit, what's in my makeup bag, and what's in my day bag. And then I wanted to also recommend to you that we listen to Gabe for a moment, because he's going to have some advice for our fitness-focused folks on the road.
Hello everyone, I am Gabe Gunning, and in addition to being an avid traveler, I'm also an avid runner. I've run 11 marathons, and I'm often training while I'm traveling in Europe, which is why I want to talk to you about how you can pack for exercising in Europe. Even if you're not going to be training for a marathon, exercising while you're in Europe can be a great way to retain some of your routines while you're in a new place and a new time zone. Also, if you want to run or go for a brisk walk, this can be a great way to experience the destinations that you're visiting from a new perspective. Some of my favorite runs have been through the medieval streets of Toledo in Spain, along the Roman Forum, or along the coast of the French Riviera. But when you're trying to pack light and right, any additional bit of clothing can feel cumbersome, which is why I want to go over how you can continue to pack light and right while packing your exercise gear. My first tip is to always pack an old pair of shoes. When my shoes are worn down and starting to get a bit patchy on the bottom, I do not throw them away. I always keep an extra pair for my next trip. This means that I can run for another week or two in my old shoes, and then I can leave them in Europe guilt-free and make some room for souvenirs on the way home. Typically when I'm packing, I have about 2 to 3 running outfits. This entails a pair of shorts, a shirt, and some socks. You can even pack some old socks that you can leave behind as well. Typically, you want to think about packing dry fit, light items that will dry very quickly when you wash them in the sink afterwards, such as this nice tank top here, which I can fit down to about the size of a tennis ball if I need to. You will also want to be thinking though about how you can double up some items. So while this can pack down very small, it's probably not something I'm going to be wearing into a museum. Whereas this t-shirt style shirt is also dry fit, moisture wicking, will dry very quickly, but it has some nice sleeves, and this is something that I could wear for a day of sightseeing. Of course, just make sure that if you're going to wear something sightseeing and running, you do the sightseeing first, because you don't want to be walking around in your sweaty clothes. Also, if you're going to be going somewhere where you'll be swimming on the Mediterranean coast or near some lakes, you might want to be packing a bathing suit. Keep in mind that a bathing suit and running shorts are very similar, and running shorts make a great substitute. You don't want to be running in your bathing suit though, because it's usually made of a stiffer material and can have sometimes an abrasive mesh lining, whereas these running shorts have a very nice soft lining. So in this case, I'm going to stick with my running shorts and forget the bathing suit. Now it's time to pack. If you think about your bag going through the TSA X-ray machine, think about all of the dead space inside your shoes. One easy way to remedy this is by stuffing all of your running clothes into your shoes. Now, shoes aren't stereotypically the nicest smelling things, but you have to keep in mind that when you're exercising, you're not really supposed to be smelling good anyways. So any clothes that I have dedicated exclusively for running, I will pack into my shoes, at least for my trip over the Atlantic. Sometimes you can have an extra bag once you get to Europe. Almost all my running clothes in. And we'll just leave these couple items out and pack those in with the rest of our clothes. I then pack everything into a drawstring bag. Many people who are avid runners will have some of these from races. And you want to keep your shoes separate because sometimes they get some dirt and dust on the bottom and you don't want that mixing with the rest of your luggage. Also, if you don't have time to be washing with your travel wash, in between certain stops, I always have some Ziploc bags, or we also sell our flat packs. This is a great way to store some of those wet running clothes in between stops if you don't have time to wash them quite yet. Finally, if you are going to be along the sea or some lakes, another option is swimming. And this you can pack even lighter. You just need a pair of goggles and a small bathing suit. And I do mean a small bathing suit. If you're going to be going to some pools in France especially, you're required to wear a Speedo bathing suit. So all of this is a way that I can be exercising and fit all the clothes in the palms of my hand. So I hope that was helpful, and I wish you happy exercising on your next trip.
Thank you, Gabe, for sharing that with us. Gabe will be back with us in just a moment. I mean, practically now, while Gabe is signing on, I just want to say that we have weekly here on Monday Night Travel, we have a word from our sponsor. And the word from our sponsor this week is the 2025 Festival of Tours. We are going to have over 9 nights of shows about our tour itineraries, featuring guides and all kinds of great destinations in Europe that we'd love to take you to. And the registration is open now on our website, and there is a link to them from our Monday Night Travel homepage. Gabe, do we have some questions this evening?
Hello, Lisa. Thank you for that enlightening chat. We have more questions that I could possibly hope to keep up with. So I did the best I could answering what I could, but I am glad that we have this opportunity now for me to pose some of the questions to you as well. One of the first questions that I saw, and one that I saw a few times, is a lot of people noted that at least in your first video, it seemed like you were packing for more of a warm weather trip. What are some of your tips for people that are planning to go in the winter? How do you fit some of those bulkier warm items?
So this is a great question, and I wish I had some pictures from my trip with Nora where we went to Paris and London in February last year. So the biggest difference between when I pack for like a spring or a fall tour where I'm gonna run into some cool weather, but
Oh, wow.
magically appearing on screen. So what I do when I'm in spring and fall, I'm packing for some cool weather, but the difference for me for real winter travel is to just have a much thicker coat, like a really nice wool coat or a puffy coat. And if you think you're going to be spending a lot of time outside, then I would invest in gloves and a hat. But otherwise, the layering thing doesn't work quite as well because when you go into that lovely Parisian cafe and, it was 40 degrees outside, but now it's, 70 degrees inside, you're not going to want to take off every single thing. You just want to be able to take off your nice coat, your gloves, and your scarf and be good and be done with it. That's the biggest difference for me.
And Lisa, if I can chime in, I did a trip a couple years ago to the Faroe Islands where even in the summer it's, 40 degrees and windy. And so I always just assume that I will pack, if I'm going somewhere cold, I will pack a big fluffy coat. And usually I don't try to cram it in my bag. I just wear it onto the plane with me. And then usually when I'm on the plane, I'll just make it into a little ball and use it as a pillow, or just lay it across my lap. So it can be a little bit inconvenient, but I certainly think that small inconvenience is worth the much better convenience of not having a checked bag once I get to Europe.
Yes, so smart.
Mary is wondering, have you ever hiked in Europe and are you allowed to pack hiking poles?
So, two things about that. I have hiked in Europe many, many times, mostly in the Swiss Alps. And the TSA just came out with something that, like, for one day they said they were going to allow hiking poles, but then they reversed their decision. So, it's always very confusing. I would say if you are going to want hiking poles, that you want to get the most collapsible ones that you can get. And I have heard that REI sells some that are small enough to fit in a carry-on size bag, but you're not allowed to carry them on anyway. So you're just going to be prepared to check that bag. I have heard that some TSA agents will allow you them, especially if you just come in with one as a mobility device, but it's just not worth, I just don't think it's worth taking that risk. So I would, if I wanted to take hiking poles, I would check my bag. I have not taken hiking poles to Europe. I have rented them on two occasions when I was doing, to me, a little bit more difficult hikes in the Swiss Alps, and I think that cost me like 12 francs, which is about $12 for the day.
Lisa, also, we have had a few questions about various items going on to TSA, and I just want to make a note. I am going to, right now, as I'm speaking, post in the chat widget. TSA keeps an A to Z list of all items that they get common questions about, because there were people asking, oh, can I take small scissors? Can I take fingernail clippers? So I just added that in the chat widget if you have a specific item that you're curious about, and I'll make sure that that is also included in the follow-up email that will be sent out 24 hours from when this show started.
Thanks, Gabe. That's very helpful for people. And it's
Lisa,
a very complete list. I looked at it just yesterday.
yes, yeah, no, it's extremely helpful. I mean, they have things like ashes of deceased family members. Like that's a question people ask a lot. It's kind of fun just to scroll through and see what things people are asking about. Um, there's even they have a rule about taking spaghetti on a plane. Like that's something that people ask about. So, um, Lisa,
Why? Why, Gabe? Now I must know. Why would people want it? Why would
I
they?
was hoping you wouldn't ask a follow-up question because I don't remember the details, but I remember that TSA at the end of 2024 on like their Instagram page, they did a roundup of how many on an estimate of how many travelers they had processed. And they did kind of one of those end of year roundups of how many employees they have. And then they did some kind of offbeat things and they had one of their stats was like the number of people that had written to them asking if they could take prepared pasta onto the airplane. Um, So I don't remember what the answer was, but.
Coals to Newcastle, spaghetti to Italy.
Lisa, we have another question from Kathy. She is wondering um, if you are trying to, if you don't love hand washing in the sink and you maybe want to try to minimize the amount that you do it, but acknowledge that maybe that could cause a little bit more odor buildup in your bag. Kathy's wondering, have you found any success with any kind of like anti-odor, odor eliminator sprays? Or do you have
Oh,
any that you'd recommend?
Kathy, you woman after my own heart. Um, yeah, I used to need to use a lot of, we used to sell something called Quick Fresh, which was nice because it was unscented, but it was basically Febreze. And it worked really well. The manufacturer stopped making it, so we don't sell it anymore. So I have gone now to Febreze with the Gain scent, and I find that that works really well. Also, I've had a lot of tour members tell me that they are really fond of merino wool. So merino wool makes all kinds of t-shirts and base layers and sweaters and all kinds of things, but they say that because of its special properties, that it doesn't get stinky like maybe regular clothes would. So maybe a combination of some Febreze and some merino wool, and Kathy might be in excellent shape.
I might take that tip as well, because while I very diligently washed my running clothes on my last trip, I mean, sink washing is great, but it can only go so far. Lisa, we have a couple questions about health, and I think you touched on a couple of them, but I want to bring them up again because a lot of people were asking. The first is in regards to CPAP machines. Cindy was wondering, while traveling, do you ever have any issues finding distilled water for the CPAP machines?
Do I? Heck yes. It can be difficult. As a matter of fact, if so my ResMed Mini doesn't need any distilled water, doesn't need any water at all. So that is one of the reasons why I spent the money to get it, because that saved me from having to find distilled water. I know in a lot of countries you have to go to a pharmacy to get distilled water. Some things that I have done in the past, so I've used regular tap water and then gotten some vinegar and used vinegar to clean it out. Then you have to rinse it really, really well. Of course, distilled water is the best. But I've used tap water. But anyone who just tells you like regular bottled water is fine, I don't necessarily think that that's true. So I would make the effort to find distilled water. There is actually a hotel in Paris that we use for our Paris tours, our 1 week city tours. And they're so nice that if you tell them that you're coming with the CPAP machine, they will order distilled water for you. So it's something that you could ask your hotel to do for you. I don't know if every hotel would do that, but that would be something. So I also was going to say this. If I were traveling with a CPAP that required distilled water, I would actually think about bringing some with me, even if it was just like a 3 ounce bottle in my carry-on. That would be at least enough to get me through the first night, or two, maybe, depending upon how much you use your humidifier. So I would think about that as well. Those would be the strategies that I would use.
And then Paul was also asking a common question that we receive about what kind of containers to use for medications and supplements. Do you have to have them in their original bottles? Can you have them in kind of a little pill container organizer?
So this is why I was on the TSA website yesterday, Gabe. As far as my research, and I'm not an expert and you cannot sue me, but as far as my research is, it says it's recommended that they stay in their original containers. They should be in their original containers, but it doesn't say they must be. So if I had a lot of pills, I would maybe even think about putting them in Ziploc baggies with a copy of the label. You could stick that inside, because the label, I mean, what does a brown pill bottle mean to anything? If you have the label that says what it is and you put that, you could get a lot of pills in Ziploc baggies and with their labels. I think that would be fine. Once you get through to Europe, you're not going to be checked again once you're at your, so that's why at the hotel that I'll put a lot of things in my little pill organizer. But I do think that in general, they should be with their original labels. Now, did I say that I personally have married some of my meds together in the same pill bottle? I did say that, and I hope that the government, the police are not listening to me because that's probably a no-no. Have I ever been checked? No. Do with this information what you will.
All right, Lisa, we have a few questions. You held up a lot of fun gadgets and products that people were very interested in. So I want to do a little lightning round where I'm going to ask you the brand of these things because we had a lot of questions. So Jeff wanted to know, do you know the brand of your portable fan?
Faraday.
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 Can you spell that?
Faraday.
Faraday.
I took it on 2 trips last year. I took it on my spring trip and my fall trip, and it is just as good as new, and it has been used for probably 90 to 100 days already. So I'm pretty impressed with that.
And how about your flat water bottle?
This is a knockoff. So there is a company, it's called the A4 water bottle, and there is a company that you can find online that was sort of the original maker of these, and that's, if you want the brand name, that's the one that you would get. And I probably would, if I were to buy it again for some reason, I probably would go with the name brand because I did have to return the first one that I got because it did leak. Just Google A4 water bottle and it should come up with the original company.
Is it supposed to be like an A4 sheet of paper?
It is exactly supposed to be like an A4 sheet of paper. Yes.
There we go. I know my European paper sizes.
Nice.
All right, Lisa, we have time for a couple more questions. One that I saw a couple times was Mindy was asking, do you take a hair dryer with you, or is that something that you can expect to find in the hotels?
You can expect to find it in most hotels. The main issue I find is that sometimes you get a really great hair dryer and sometimes you don't. So I literally, I don't know if anybody noticed, but I did not curl my hair or style my hair. This is air dried hair because I wanted to be legit on screen. Like, this is what I look like in Europe. This is what I look like on tour, because I do not take a hair dryer and I do not take a curling iron.
Well, I think that you look wonderful, Lisa. So that is a compelling argument right there.
You are a peach.
We also, speaking of drying, Catherine was asking, in terms of if you're going to be doing some of the sink laundry, if you're only going to be somewhere for a couple nights, can you rely on it drying in time? And how do you kind of budget for drying time when you're trying to do the whole laundry as you go?
So the key is, and I kind of mentioned this, that most of the time when I'm staying somewhere, I'm staying there for 2 nights. So if I'm going to do sink laundry, I'm doing it on the first night of those 2 nights. I do not expect my things to actually dry overnight. You can get into technical fabrics and they will, but most of my stuff I just buy. I mean, I'm not super fancy in a lot of ways, so I buy some of my clothes at Fred Meyer or Old Navy or where have you. So they're not technical fabrics. So they don't necessarily dry overnight. But if I'm staying there for 2 nights, they always dry after 2 nights. So that's what I do. I do it on the first night of a 2-night stay.
I would agree. And it also depends somewhat on where you are. If you're going to be way up in the Alps where the air is a little bit drier, they might dry more quickly. But when I was in Bulgaria on tour this past fall, even some of my quick drying items, when I was along the Black Sea and it was really humid, they would not dry in one night, even some quick drying fabrics. So I think that's a great point.
You know what else helps, Gabe? No, my last night on tour, I was in Paris and I was caught in a monsoon with my group and we were just drenched, and I came home and mostly I was concerned because my shoes were really wet and I was going to have to wear them the next day, but there was a little dryer in my bathroom, and so I turned there was a little heater in my bathroom, a little tiny heater. And so I turned the heater on and I put my shoes in front of the heater and I put my fan on overnight and everything dried off. So this will actually help with your drying.
All right, well, Lisa, thank you again so much. And I am gonna disappear here and leave you to say farewell to our wonderful viewers.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you for being a fantastic contributor to our show tonight. I know a lot of people probably really enjoyed your fitness fun facts on how to pack as a fitness person. And I want to thank everyone so much for being here tonight. This is a labor of love, and we're just so happy that you're here. So we are going to say goodnight. We're going to see you next week. Sign up online and we'll see you soon.